Hey guys, if you're thinking about buying a new home, there are a lot of things that you could regret, right? If you don't really think about it. You want to have somebody there experienced with you. If you've never bought a home, that especially matters. And you want to make sure you're thinking about all the things that are going to make you happy, and maybe more importantly, the things that wouldn't make you happy. Stay tuned, and I'm going to answer the question: what are the top regrets of home buyers?
You better get fired up.
Guys, great seeing you. Today we're here with You've Got Questions, I've Got Answers, where we answer the real estate questions you're burning to ask. And hey, we've got a lot of experience with great things, great home buying, home selling experiences, but we've also got a lot of negative ones too, where people have called me afterwards and said, man, I wish I hadn't bought this, or I wish I hadn't sold under these circumstances, or I wish I'd done something differently. It's great to be able to share that with other people who are going down a similar path so that hopefully you can take those nuggets and keep yourself out of that situation, right? So today I'm going to go through 4 things that I have heard buyers regret. One of these things my clients never regret because it's a discussion we talk about, but it's something that anybody could absolutely miss. So let's start with number 1 here. I never hear people regretting pools. I do hear people saying, hey, we bought the home thinking that we would get a pool, but we never really use it. And, if we bought again, we probably wouldn't get a pool. But it's not really a huge regret because you might pay in Port St. Lucie an average of $45,000 to $55,000 more for a home with a pool. However, when you go to sell, you're going to get that $45,000, $55,000 back. So you don't really lose anything. It's not a big deal unless you're heating it. Then you get the monthly costs and everything else. But it's really not that much. It's not that bad. However, if you're building a new construction home and you add in a pool, those pools tend to start around the $80,000 to $100,000 range. And I'm saying 80, but honestly, I haven't heard of one under 6 figures in probably 2 or 3 years. So you're looking at an average of, what I see, an average of probably 120. That 120 to 140 range is pretty normal for a pool. And when you go to sell that home, you call me 4, 5, 6 years later. Again, we're averaging $45,000 to $55,000 in resale value. So you're losing half to 2/3 of your money because you wanted that pool. Now, if you're going to use the pool and you understand all the math I just shared with you and you're still okay with it, get that pool, baby. It's South Florida. Why wouldn't you? But if you're really not sure if you're going to use the pool, or maybe your kids are 17, they're almost out of the house, and you're not really a pool person yourself, doing it on new construction at the full price of 100 to 140 grand, sometimes more, knowing you're only going to get an average of 45 to 55 grand out of it, isn't something a lot of people want to do. So make sure you're considering that on a new construction home. Again, on a resale, yeah, you're going to pay 45, 50 grand, 55 grand more, but you're going to get that 45, 55 grand back. So not the biggest of deals. Number 2, taxes. This is the one that I inform my clients on, but I've heard a lot of horror stories about people either not working with realtors, or the realtor doesn't share it with them. Maybe the builder doesn't share it with them. When you come in and you're buying, let's talk new construction first. When you're in this video is not new construction focused, but a lot of these things happen to be more impactful with new construction. When you're buying a new construction home, let's say it's $500,000, the taxes that you're getting approved for with your lender are the current taxes. The current taxes that the builder is paying are set upon the value of the lot because there's not a house built yet, right? So maybe that lot is assessed at $100,000, but once you're closed, your assessment's going to be $500,000. So your taxes theoretically are going to go up roughly 5 times. So there's a lot of people out there who have, say, $1,500 taxes. They look at that monthly payment. They're like, ooh, this is nice. I like it. All of a sudden next year it goes up to $7,500. I see this on Facebook every single year. And the monthly payment just went up $500 a month, and people don't understand why. That's why. Now, the same can happen on a resale. You might buy a home for $500,000, but because that person's lived in there forever and they have what's called the Save Our Homes tax credit. I won't go too deep on this, but I've done other videos on it. If you want me to send it to them, send it to you. Just put that in the comments below. I'm happy to do it. But because they have that, they might be being taxed on $200,000, even though their house is worth $500,000. So now when you buy it and that assessed value changes to $500,000, you're paying roughly 2.5 times the amount in taxes. Now, this isn't always true. There's different situations and different scenarios, But understanding that is critically important. Knowing that this year, the year that you purchase the home, you're going to get usually 98% of the time a tax break. But once the year switches over to the new year, that new assessed value based on your purchase price is going to kick in along with the new taxes based on that amount. And it's almost always going to be higher. Now, if you disclose that to people and you tell them, hey, here's roughly where the taxes are right now, this is where I'm guessing it's going to be next year based on this and this and this, you're going to be roughly in this ballpark. Can you swallow that? Yeah, we can swallow that. Awesome. Those folks have no problem with it. They're ready for it. In fact, they look at like the first year is icing on the cake. It's a free year of lower taxes. Great. Thank you. Happiness, joy. But if you're not aware of the fact that it's going to go up after the 1st of January, it can be gut wrenching. So make sure you ask the questions. If you're not getting solid answers, call me, DM me. If you're still not getting you're going to get solid answers out of me. If you don't want to call me, feel free to call the appraiser's office. They have phenomenal staff down there. I've told them many times. It's the only government department I think I've seen run almost like a private company. It is run well. Customer service is amazing. They go above and beyond. I cannot say enough about Michelle Franklin and that St. Lucie County appraiser's office. It's great. So figure out your taxes, regardless of what your lender says your monthly payment is. Third, HOAs without reading two things: the rules and regs, and I'll add the covenants, and the financials. Why the rules and regs? I'm on a board here in tradition, and I can tell you every single, I was going to say month, but maybe week, we get somebody who breaks a rule and they weren't aware of the rule. They don't like the rule. They think the rule's silly, whatever it is, and they get upset. And I always tell them, you got the rules on day one. You had a choice to live anywhere in America, and you chose this HOA. We've got a little government here. It's called the HOA board, and you get to vote them in or vote them out or whatever you want. And you can even come to the meetings to try to influence them, and you can create new rules. You can change the rules. But I mean, you can complain. I was going to say you can't complain about it. You can complain, but that's really not going to do anything for you. If you want to have impact, you got to go to the meetings or run for the board. Or if you want to protect yourself, read those covenants, read those rules and regulations before you get into that HOA. What are the difference between covenants and rules and regs? Covenants are things, it's kind of like the Constitution, right? That's how I think of covenants. If you're an attorney or an HOA manager, feel free to chime in here and make this sound a little bit better. But it's like the Constitution. It's created in the beginning, and you can make little changes and everything else, but it's the overarching, sometimes broad, rules and regulations for your community. So if that's rules and regs, then what are the rules and regs? Rules and regs are more specific, okay? So you may have in the covenants, this community will have a clubhouse and a pool, and pool hours will be set by the board and posted outside the pool so that everybody can see it. That's what a covenant will say. Rules and regs will say the pool hours are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. or whatever they are. Those are horrible hours, but let's say those are the hours. And then that's the specific, right? Why? Because with covenants, generally speaking, you're going to need the community to vote on it. It's tougher to change. And with the rules and regs, the board can vote on it. So you try to leave the simple changes, the more detailed changes, the things that you might want to change over time. You put that in the rules and the regs. So you want to read both. Get a little too in depth on this, but you want to read both. Financials. Why do you want to read the financials? You might be getting into a community that has $1 million annual budget, and when you look in their reserves, they've got $15,000. That's scary. Personally, I would want 3 to 6 months of reserves. So if you've got a year's worth of budget at $1 million, 3 months is $250,000. I'd want to see $250,000 to $500,000 in reserves. That's not a rule. That's a Joe Rosen thing. You might think you need a little less or a little more, whatever it is. That's what I would want to feel comfortable. That gives me enough confidence, not only in the fact that we've got money if something goes wrong, but that we've got people running finances who are intelligent and conservative enough to where I'm comfortable with them. All right. So that'd be very important to me. So check those out. Second thing you want to check with the finances is, are there upcoming assessments? Now, you can ask the treasurer, you can ask the president, you can ask the manager, are there any anticipated assessments coming up? They have to legally tell you if there are pending assessments, meaning it's already been voted on. But there may be things that are not voted on, but it's come up a couple times in meetings, or it's something that, you've got a study, what's it called? A reserve study, where they come out, I think it's every 5 years, every 10 years, and they look at all of your assets and they say, okay, this asset, say it's a pool, will last X amount of years, let's say 20 years. And then it's going to need resurfacing. Resurfacing is $10,000 right now for a pool like this. That's really cheap for a community pool. Let's say it's $50,000. That sounds a little more realistic. It's $50,000 for a resurface. Your pool is 4 years old, so you've got approximately 16 more years. When we add in 3.5% inflation onto that $50,000, this is where I'm making up numbers, that comes out in 16 years, when we're assuming you're going to need it, to $95,000. So then we take that $95,000 and, okay, are there funds set aside to cover that? Now, if it's 16 years out, you're probably not worried about it. But if it's 1 or 2 years out, it would make sense that you would ask the treasurer, ask the president, ask the manager, what's going to happen with that? Is there a plan currently in place? If there's not a plan in place, it's either coming out of the reserves, probably, or which is going to reduce your reserves. If your reserves are already low, that's pretty scary. If your reserves aren't big enough, maybe you only got $40,000 in reserves, the pool is going to be 95 grand. That's scary. That's something you're going to want to think of. Or, and this is the alternative, it's the only other alternative, you're going to get an assessment, right? So they're going to say, hey, we got 40,000 in reserves. Maybe they won't use any of it because they want to keep some reserves, but let's say they use it, which I think is crazy, but let's just say they do. Okay, the $95,000 bill minus the 40 in reserves means we got 55,000. And let's say there's 100 people that live. Why am I forcing myself to do math on air? And you've got 100 people that live in that community, 100 homes. They're going to take 55,000 divided by 100. Everybody owes $550. You're going to want to know that, especially if you're in a townhouse or a condo where you've got shared roofs, shared painting, different shared amenities. You're going to want to make sure you know if there are going to be assessments. So ask those questions. What's the last one I got? Oh, yeah, this is the big one here in Florida. I'm not going to say an old roof. I'm going to say an old roof without a plan. There's not a problem buying a home with an 18, 19, 20-year-old roof, especially shingle. That's not a problem. The problem lies in purchasing a home with an older roof and not having a plan to finance a new one. Insurance can kick you off at any moment. A storm can come and on a 19-year-old home can beat the crap out of that thing, and all of a sudden you need a roof faster than you would if it was a brand new roof, because it would have been more durable, right? If you've got $20,000, $30,000 in the bank, ready, earmarked for that job whenever it happens, buy the house. I mean, assuming you're okay with that money going out. If you're getting a $30,000 discount over other homes, like let's say you're buying the home for $400,000, but every other home like it with a newer roof is $430,000. So you're getting a $30,000 discount, and that roof's only going to cost you 20 grand. So you're thinking, okay, I can make 10 grand there because I'm buying the home nobody wants with the older roof. And you've got the cash earmarked, the 20 grand in the bank. Buy the house. That's a great deal. And then you can, use that roof as long as it'll last you, which is great. You're getting free roof use. And then when you need a roof 2, 3, 4, 6 years later, then you take that earmarked money, you buy it, and you just made that equity in the middle. That's great. So I would never say don't buy a home with an older roof. There are absolutely people and situations where it would make sense to buy the home with the older roof. All I'm saying is you want to make sure you have a plan. You've thought about it. You can see what that's going to look like if it's needed. Just assume that you're getting a letter from insurance in 2 months. And that letter is going to say, we're kicking you off insurance unless you get a new roof. And let's just assume you make all the phone calls you want and nobody else is going to insure you unless you got a new roof. What are you going to do? If you've got an answer that's palatable, and if you went through with that answer, you would still be happy buying that home, buy the home. Buy the home. Just make sure you think of that plan before you buy it. You get the letter, you can't get the insurance, and now you regret it. All right, guys, there are 4 things that I don't want to say commonly, but I have heard people have regretted, been upset about. with home purchases. Hopefully now with that information, with that ammo, you can go out there, make more intelligent, educated purchases, setting yourself up for better success. Guys, thanks for joining me. If you like this and find value in it, I'd love it if you subscribed, hit that like button, and we'd love to hear your comments. Guys, have a great Friday and an even better weekend. Take care.